This is most likely going to be the most embarrassing what sold video that I ever filmed. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, my name is Becky Park. I am a part-time reseller, and when I say part-time, boy do I mean part-time. And the reason for that is because I am a high school choir teacher, and during the school year I am very busy doing all of the teachery things that I do. And in the summer, I am very good at unplugging, relaxing, hanging out with my family and my friends. We went on a couple trips. I was gone on another one after we went to LA. We went on a cruise, and so
working my life away. I wish I could just stop and go on a cruise.
I wasn't even in the country for a good portion of the time, but I am back and having to deal with the repercussions of what all of that relaxing and not being in town means. And this is actually a reflection of the time when I was in LA. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about my sales from June 10th to June 23rd. Now, mind you, my last What Sold video was like my greatest sales ever, and that's because I had done that Whatnot extravaganza 10 days in a row live on Whatnot, and I think my sales for that week, for that week of sales, or maybe it was 2 weeks combined, I don't remember, but it was like close to $7,000. We did like a billionth of that in this video, like just such a small fraction. So let's get into it. In today's video, we'll be talking about sales that came in from June 19th through the 23rd, but in reality, these are my sales from June 10th through the 23rd, and that means for well over a week, I had 0 sales. But on the 19th, which was a Wednesday, on eBay, I sold this Zara neon pistachio halter dress in a women's size large. It was like a midi dress. It was ruched along the sides. I put the words party and summer in it. This sold for $29.99. Buyer did pay for shipping. I always have the buyer pay for shipping on eBay. Let me know down in the comments what you do in regards to shipping. I just hate the idea, especially because I sell clothing and there are a good number of returns due to fit and things like that. I do free returns, and so I hate the idea of having to eat the cost of shipping a second time if they want to return it back to me. And that's why I just have the buyer pay for shipping. It is not an issue. But I had $4.75 into that. I got that at a local consignment store, and so my net profit on that was $22.18. The next thing to sell on eBay was this Talbot's Blue The Perfect Crop high-rise pair of trousers for women. They were in a size 12 petite. Those sold for $15. That was an offer that I got. And listen, after knowing that I had gone over a week without making any sales, if offers came in, I was like, yep, you can take it, because I just needed to move stuff. I just needed to make some sales, get, the ball rolling, get the algorithm working in my favor. Kids are running around upstairs. Basically, we're running a daycare right now because every one of my friends knows my husband and I, we teach, we are home, and they're like,
can our kids come over to your house to play? Because
they are at work, and yeah, so daycare upstairs, me trying to film down here, that's why it sounds like elephants running around.
Hey! Come on! No!
And maybe coming downstairs? I don't know. All right, so I had $2 into those from a local consignment store. It was like a tag sale, and I made a net profit of $9.29. The next day of sales was June 20th, which was a Thursday. We still weren't back from our trip, but on Poshmark, I turned off vacation mode. I sold this Chico's Travelers black trumpet skirt. It was in a Chico size 3, which is a US size large. I did put words like stretch and neutral in there because they're very stretchy and they're very neutral. That sold on Poshmark for $15. I had $2 into it from, I want to say, a local consignment store, and my net profit was $10. And honestly, that I didn't have listed for very long. I had it in my possession for a long time. You know what? I lied. It was not from a consignment store. It was actually from a reseller who reached out and asked me if I would buy out her inventory, and this was forever ago, and I had about $2 into each item. So I've had this in my possession for a while, just did not get around to listing it for like 2 years because I was like, who wants this? Who's gonna buy it? This person did. This person wanted it, and they got it for $15. So I was very happy about the sale, especially because it sold so much faster than I thought it would. And I feel like that is always the case. Things that I get that I'm like,
oh my gosh, this is going to sell so fast.
those items I feel like I hold on to for forever. And then the items where I'm like,
oh my gosh, like I'm going to sit on this for forever. I am not going to be able to sell this or move it.
and those items sell within like a couple weeks. And that's what happened here. And then on the 22nd, which was a Saturday, on eBay, I sold this Ralph Lauren Madras plaid patchwork shirt dress. It was in a women's size medium, and that actually sold for $41.90. I was extremely happy about that because I had sold it before on eBay, I believe. And I sold it, I think, for a little bit more the first time. I think I sold it for my full asking price of $49.99. But the person wanted to return it because they said it didn't fit right. And I knew that it would sell again. And I knew that it would sell again relatively quickly because it had a ton of attention on all platforms. I just feel like patchwork right now is extremely popular. So I went ahead and relisted it. It sold within, a week or two. And let's see, it sold for $41.90. I had $4 into it from a friend of mine who sells me clothes at consignment because she's no longer reselling contemporary clothes. She's mainly focusing on vintage clothing. And so I had about $4 into it from her, and my net profit was $30.74. Man, sometimes Ralph Lauren pieces can do so well, so definitely keep your eye out for them. And then also on the 22nd on Poshmark, I sold this Matilda Jane curtain call heathered blue maxi dress in a women's size small. It did have pockets, which always is a great selling point, I feel like, for dresses. I got this at a local consignment store during their birthday sale, and so I only had $3.47 into it, and my net profit after it sold for $29 was $19.73. And then finally, my last sale of this 2-week span. I told you this was so sad. It was such a sad 2 weeks. But the last sale was on the 23rd, which is a Sunday, and it was on eBay. It was this pair of Asics Gel Cumulus 17 road running shoes in a women's size 6. These sold on eBay for $17. And let's see. I have had these since we were in shelter in place for COVID. So what is that, like 4 years? It's been forever since I've had these. Like an unacceptably long amount of time. I got them at a local consignment store during shelter in place. And what I did was I reached out to them and was like, listen, you guys are not able to open your doors. I am not able to find inventory. What if I shop privately at your store with what you have? And that way, you can make some money. I can get some inventory. And it worked out perfectly. What they did was they let me into their storage unit all by myself so that I could just pick through everything. And I would just bring like the bags that I had to the store where they were just kind of quietly working behind the scenes. They just asked me to count up how many bags I had. And the only interaction that we had was when I handed them my credit card and they took my money. So it was a great way to score some inventory. And the only reason they let me do that is because we had a really good relationship already. I frequented their store many, many times before that, gave them lots of my money before that. And that's why when I reached out, they were comfortable with me being alone in that storage unit. So I only had $1.80 into these. And like I said, they sold for $17. And so my net profit was $12.98. The funny thing is I have a hydro rower. It's basically Peloton. It is a rower with a subscription. And I like being able to do that workout from the comfort of my home. And those are the shoes that I would wear every time I rode. So I was kind of sad because now I don't have rowing shoes, but they have been in my house for way too long. So I'm very happy to see them gone. And if you're like, ooh, that rower looks kind of cool, because I will put a video of myself doing a little rowing for you, you can definitely check it out. I'll have some links down below for you. You can get it directly from Hydro. You can get it on Amazon. I am not an affiliate. They don't know who I am. But if you'd rather have something like a rower versus a treadmill or an elliptical or something in your home, I love it. My husband uses it too. It is a great way to get some cardio in. So that is the video, the 8-minute video. Actually, I know I rambled, so it's probably a little bit longer than that. But let's talk about my final numbers. On Poshmark, I sold 2 items for a gross sales amount of $44. I had $5.47 into those 2 items. And so my net profit after fees, cost of goods, all that good stuff was $29.73. On eBay, I sold 4 items for a gross sales amount of $132.68. My cost of goods was $12.50. $1.55. And so my net profit after fees and shipping and all of that was $75.19. So in total, I sold 6 items for a gross sales amount of $176.68. My cost of goods was $18.02. And my net profit after all fees and cost of goods was $104.92 in the span of 2 weeks. Sometimes I make that as my net profit by selling one item, but that's what I made in 2 weeks. And that's how reselling goes. You know, it's up and down. It gives when you put in. That's the side hustle, and I'm okay with it. I love that it's there waiting for me when I'm ready to work and I'm ready to put a lot of effort into it. But I also like being able to do nothing for long stretches of time, which is what I did this summer. However, school is starting in 2 weeks. I cannot say I'm excited. I'm like waiting for the excitement to kick in. It is not there yet, but that's okay. If you have kids, let me know when they start school. I know everyone starts at different times. I start obscenely early this year, I believe. And so we're going to get back into it. Hopefully that helps me get back in the schedule of things as well. However, when it comes to reselling with things like posting YouTube videos, with things like listing regularly, all that good stuff. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.